Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation session. We have several presenters who will share their research related to English language teaching and learning. So for the first presenter will be delivered by Faiz. Faiz, screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. I will. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning. Good morning. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Faizuddin, and today I would like to present my research entitled "Identifying Speaking Difficulties." Okay, next. Okay, the first is background and context. English speak English oral proficiency is critical skill in modern education, yet many Indonesian high school struggle to develop confident speaking abilities. However, many Indonesian high school students still experience difficulties in speaking English confidently and effectively. Several factors contribute to this problem, such as limited exposure to English and large classroom size and insufficient opportunities to practice speaking. These challenges may affect student performance. Therefore, it is important to identify the factor that cause speaking difficulties and understand how they influence student oral proficiency. And the next is research problem and question. Okay, the main problem of the study is that speaking difficulties significantly hinder student English oral proficiency. Based on this problem, the study aimed to answer three research questions. The first is what types of speaking difficulties do students face, and then how do these difficulties affect oral proficiency, and the last is what is the relationship between speaking difficulties and proficiency. The study focuses on both linguistic factors, such as vocabulary, pronunciation, and grammar, and non-linguistic factors, such as anxiety and lack of self-confidence. The participants are 20, 37 11 grad students. And the next is research objective. There are four research objectives. The first is to identify the types of speaking difficulties experienced by students, and the next is to measure student oral proficiency level, and then analyze the effect and relationship between speaking difficulties and oral proficiency. The last is to provide recommendation for English teacher to help students overcome both linguistic and psychological barriers in speaking and English. Okay, and the next slide is methodology overview. This study used a mixed method approach, combining quantitative and qualitative method. The participants are 37 11 grade students. For the quantitative data, questionnaire will be used to identify speaking difficulties, while an oral proficiency uh, test will measure student speaking performance. For the qualitative data, structured interview will be conducted to gain deeper insight into student experiences and perception regarding speaking skill. The next is data collection instrument. Key instrument will be used in this research. The first is questionnaire to measure linguistic and effective speaking difficulties, and then an oral proficiency test assess student speaking ability, and the last is structured interview to explore student experiences and challenging in speaking English more deeply. And the next is expected findings. As on previous studies and preliminary assumptions, speaking anxiety is accepted to be the most dominant difficulty among the students. Other common difficulties may include limited vocabulary, pronunciation problem, and then grammar mistake and lack of self-confidence. The next is the data of oral proficiency, and next is correlation. The findings are expected to show that both linguistic and affective factors play important roles in student speaking performance. Therefore, English teachers should not only focus on teaching vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation, but also create support learning environment that helps students build confidence and reduce anxiety when speaking English. And the next is application analysis performance that we can see the data and the next discussion and implementation. There are linguistic factor and affective factor. The linguistic factor, vocabulary, pronunciation, and grammar difficulties significantly hinder oral proficiency, and affective factors, speaking, anxiety, and lack of self-confidence are equally critical. Integrate teaching approach that foster a supportive environment and build learner confidence must be prioritized alongside language skills. And the last is conclusion. Speaking anxiety emerged as the dominant difficulty significantly impacting English oral proficiency among 11 grade students. The strong negative correlation confirmed that addressing both linguistic and affective barriers is essential. Holistic teaching approach that integrate confidence building alongside language skill development are strongly recommended. The research should evaluate effectiveness of targeted intervention program in reducing speaking difficulties and improving oral proficiency outcome. Okay, thank you for attention. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Faiz, for insightful presentation. So we are moving to the second presenters. Will be delivered by Jimmy Ardi. So he
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Hello, everyone. And thank you for giving me this valuable opportunity. My name is Jimmy Ardi, and today I'm very pleased to present my research study titled Foreign Language Anxiety and Speaking Achievement, a correlational study of Brazilian English education student at university level. Through this presentation, I will walk you through the journey of my research, starting from the underlying problems to our empirical findings, and finally, the practical recommendation we can draw from them. Okay. Let us look at the foundation of the study, which I call the paradox of language acquisition. As English education students, speaking proficiency is universally regarded as the ultimate golden standard of language mastery. But however, in reality, speaking is also the most anxiety-inducing skill, and this brings us to the effective barrier. Anxiety in foreign language learning is not just general nervousness, it's a unique psychological phenomenon that can severely block a student's cognitive processing. And in this study, I focus specifically on first-year university students because this cohort is highly vulnerable because they are currently facing an initial shock transitioning from the relatively relaxed speaking expectation from high school to highly rigorous academic standard of a university English department. And this mismatch often leads to silent classroom and underperforming students. Okay, to address this paradox, this research is driven by three key pillars: the problem, the objective, and the significant. First, the main problem is straightforward. Is there any statistically significant correlation between foreign language anxiety and speaking achievement of these freshman students? And the main objective is to empirically measure and determine the strength and direction of this relationship. And finally, the significance of this study is to provide concrete empirical data to justify a shift in how we assess speaking and manage classroom environment, moving forward, reducing effective barriers. Okay, to understand this anxiety, I adopted the gold standard theoretical framework by Ulrich and Kopp in 1986. They conceptualized a foreign language anxiety, or FLA, through three primary dimensions. The first is communication apprehension. This is the shyness and fear of entering a conversation when students feel their language control cannot match what they want to express. And the second is fear of negative evaluation. This is an acute worry about being judged, laughed up, or corrected by their peers or their lecturers. And the third is test anxiety. This is the apprehension of performing under formal testing condition, where students feel their grades and academic future are constantly at risk. And these three focus combined create a heavy psychological burden on our students. Okay, based on the theory, I established a conceptual framework consisting of two main variables. The first is variable X, is foreign language anxiety, which I measure using the classic foreign language classroom anxiety scale, or FLCAS. And the variable Y is speaking achievement, measured through a standardized oral interview score with analytical rubric. And my working hypothesis predicts an inverse linear relationship between these two variables. And as a student's anxiety score increases, I expect that their speaking grades to drop. And how was the study conducted? I employ a quantitative correlational research design. This is a quantitative study, and the population and a sample consisted of 30 first-year English education students selected using total population sampling in any university, and gather data for variable X. I distributed the 33-item FLCAS questionnaire, which provide highly reliable with a converge alpha over 0.80 for variable Y. The students underwent a structured speaking interview, and their performance were recorded and graded independently by raters using an analytical rubrics based on the CFR A2 to B1 language bands. And then this is the empirical result. This chart illustrates the level of agreement among students regarding different anxiety inducing situation in class. Interestingly, 76.7% of the students express a strong belief that their peers are superior to them in language skills, highlighting a massive issues with peers comparison and negative evaluation. But 73.3% were constantly worried about failing the course, and 70% felt overwhelmed by the complex grammar and pronunciation rules during spontaneous speech. And then lastly, 65.6% admitted to panicking when they had to speak without prior preparation. And this number confirms that language anxiety is highly prevalent in this cohort. Next, I assess their speaking performance as shown in this table. The distribution of speaking proficiency span from beginner to advanced, and the majority of the freshmen, about 33.3%, fell into B1 or intermediate level, followed by A2 and B2. Overall, the class achieved a mean rubric score of 10.797 out of 16 points, which equate that average proficiency of 68.5%. While this indicates these can competence, it also shows significant rooms for improvement. And then this brings us to the core finding of the study. This is the hypothesis testing. After running the Pearson product moment correlation, and I obtained a correlation coefficient or R value of minus 0.763 with significant value of p less than 0.001. Since the p-value is far below our alpha level, the null hypothesis is officially rejected, and the alternative hypothesis is accepted. An R value of minus 0.6763 represent a strong negative and highly significant correlation, and this confirms our hypothesis that the higher a student's foreign language anxiety, the lower their speaking achievement. Okay, to put this statistically, finding into broader context, let us look to the coefficient of determination, or R square. By squaring our correlation coefficient, we get an R square of 0.582, which means 58.2% of the variance in student speaking achievement is directly explained by their anxiety levels. And this remaining 41.8% is likely influenced by other factors like vocabulary size, motivation, or teaching methods. And these findings strongly align with cognitive inference theory. When a student is highly anxious, their working memory is split in two instead of using 100% of their brain power for lexical, vertebral, and grammar monitoring. And they waste a massive portion of it processing, self-depressing thought, and fear of failure. Anxiety literally creates a cognitive bottlenecks. To conclude, this study has established four main empirical realities. The first is foreign language anxiety is very real, highly prevalent psychological barriers for our placement. The second, it directly impairs performance, causing immediate struggle with fluency and vocabulary recall under pressure. And the third, the transition from high school to university acts a catalyst that amplifies these insecurities. And lastly, speaking achievement is not just to test linguistic intelligence, and it is deeply detected by the learner's emotional state. And I have recommendation. Based on the conclusion, I propose a shift in our pedagogical approach through three actionable steps. The first, the digital portfolios. We should establish lower initial effective filter by allowing freshmen to submit speaking tasks by recorded videos from the comfort of their homes before forcing them to speak live in front of the court. And the second, delay feedback. Instructors should avoid interrupting students mid-speech with public correction. Instead, we should record errors and discuss them collectively at the end of the lesson. And the last is coping strategies. We must actively teach students cognitive coping mechanisms such as positive reforming and structure preparation strategies. And this that concludes my presentation today. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time and attention. I am now open any question if you have any question in the last. And thank you for your attention once again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
All right, what a great presentation by Jimmy. Thank you. So we are now moving on to presenter 3, which is myself. I'll say. All right, thank you, Jimmy, for a great presentation. Now we are moving on to the third presenter, which is myself. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manuzaki, and today I will present research entitled The Use of Roleplay in Improving Student Speaking Confidence in Indonesia. So speaking is one of the most important skills in language learning because it allows learners to communicate ideas, opinions, and information effectively. However, many university students in Indonesia still struggle with speaking English. Based on classroom observations and previous studies, several problems frequently appear. First, students experience speaking anxiety when they have to speak in front of others. Second, many learners lack confidence in their English abilities. Third, they are afraid of making grammatical mistakes or mispronouncing words. As a result, they often avoid participating in classroom discussion and speaking activities. These issues indicate the need for supportive teaching strategies that can create a comfortable environment for speaking practice. The third slide, which is problem statement. So the problem addressed in this study is that students remain passive during speaking activities even when they understand the lesson content. There are four major issues. The first is speaking anxiety, where students feel nervous and uncomfortable speaking English. The second is low self-confidence, causing students to doubt their speaking abilities. The third is fear of mistakes, especially grammatical and pronunciation. Fourth is limited classroom participation. So these problems are connected when students feel anxious, they participate less. Because they participate less, they receive fewer opportunities to practice. So this creates a cycle that slows down their speaking development. Therefore, finding an effective method to break this cycle is essential. So why role play? One teaching strategy that addresses this challenge is role play. So role play provides students with realistic communication situations that resemble real-life interactions. For example, students can act as customers, cashier, teacher, and students, or job applications and viewers. Role play also encourage active participation because students are required to interact with their peers. Another important benefit is that role play reduces speaking anxiety. When students act as the character, they often feel less worried about being judged. Finally, role play supports the principle of communicative language teaching or CLT because it promotes meaningful communication rather than this reason. Role play was chosen as the focus of this. So, what was the research objective? The study has three main objectives. First, to examine the effect of role play and student speaking confidence and fluency. Second, to investigate students' attitude toward role play activities. And third, to explore how role play is implemented in university speaking classes. Through these objectives, the research aims to provide a clearer understanding of the benefits of role play in English language learning. Next is literature review. This research is supported by several theoretical concepts. The first is speaking skill within the framework of communicative language teaching. CLT emphasizes communication as the primary goal of language learning. The second concept is role play as the language learning strategy. Previous studies suggest that role play encourage interaction and authentic language use. The third concept involves confidence and anxiety, which are psychological factors that strongly influence. Finally, the study is connected to corrections. They built a hypothesis. So according to corrections, students learn language more effectively when they feel relaxed, motivated, and confident. Therefore, reducing anxiety through role play may help students acquire language successfully. Next is research methodology. So this study used qualitative research design. The purpose was to gain an in-depth understanding of students' experience with role play activities. The participants were foreign students from the English Education Department and social or physics. Data were collected through three methods. First, in-depth interview, second, classroom observation, and third, documentation of role-play activities. So for data analysis, the study adopts Miles and Hubersman's interactive model, which consists of data reductions, data display, and conclusion drawing. So this process ensures systematic analysis and interpretation of the collected data. So there are four students from research participants. The study involved four students with different level of speaking confidence and classroom engagement. Some participants were highly active and frequently volunteer during role play activities. Others were initially less confident and participate only in structured classroom tasks. So these variations allow the researchers to observe how role play affected students with different backgrounds and confidence levels. Overall, the participants represented a range of speaking abilities from basic, intermediate to intermediate level. And for slide 9, which is findings overview, this study produced three major findings. First, role play increased student speaking confidence. Second, role play reduced speaking anxiety. Third, role play improved speaking performance, including fluency, vocabulary use, and skills. These findings are interconnected. When anxiety decreases, confidence increases. So when confidence increases, students become more willing to participate. And as participation increases, speaking ability improves. All right, so speaking confidence gains, one of the strongest findings was the increase in speaking confidence. Students reported feeling more comfortable expressing themselves during role play activities. The interesting observation was that students felt less pressures because they were acting as someone else rather than speaking as themselves. The psychological distance helped them take risks and communicate more freely. One participant stated, I feel more confident when I do role play because I'm acting as someone else. So this statement clearly demonstrates how role play can create a safer environment for speaking anxiety reduced. Another important finding was the reduction of the anxiety before participating in roleplay. Students commonly reported fear of forgetting scripts, making grammatical mistakes, and speaking in front of classmates. However, after repeated roleplay practice, these feelings gradually decreased. Students became more comfortable with speaking tasks and show greater willingness to speaking improvement. So beyond confidence and anxiety, students also demonstrate improvements in their speaking abilities. They become more fluent, expand their vocabulary, and develop stronger skills. And roleplay also increases peer interactions. Students work together, exchange feedback, and support each other. Student perception and peer perception in interaction. In addition, participants express positive perceptions of roleplay, so many describe the activities as enjoyable, interactive, and less stressful than traditional exercise. So this positive classroom atmosphere contributes to greater engagement and discussion. The findings suggest that roleplay is an effective strategy for improving confidence. The results align with communicative language teaching because roleplay provides opportunities for authentic interactions. The findings also support trust and effective filter hypothesis. As students' anxiety decrease, their effective filter becomes lower, making language acquisitions easier. At words, roleplay not only improves speaking performance but also creates the emotional condition necessary for successful language learning. All right, in conclusion, roleplay is a valuable teaching strategy for university English classroom. The study found that roleplay increased speaking confidence, reduced speaking anxiety, improved fluency and communication skills, and encouraged greater classroom participation. Therefore, teachers are encouraged to integrate roleplay activities into speaking lessons to create more supportive and communicative learning environment. So yeah, that's it from me. Thank you all for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Permit, I will the screen. All right, that's all from me, and we are moving to the fourth presenter, will be delivered by Irshad. So Irshad, you may begin.
Okay. Wait. Is it visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. First of all, thank you, Muzaki, for giving me the opportunity to present my research. My name is Muhammad Irsyad Maulana Akmal, and today I would like to present my study entitled Exploring Family-Based English Exposure in AFL Students' Early Learning. So this study explores how English exposure within the family environment influence students' early English learning experience and how family-related factors contribute to their language development. So let me begin with the background. Okay. So on this slide, I would like to explain the background of this study. So English is the one of most important international language and play a significant role in education, communication, and access to information. So because of this, early exposure to English is considered important for language development. Besides school, family can also contribute to children's language learning by providing English exposure to daily activities, learning resource, and parental support. But however, not all children receive the same level of exposure at home. And as a result, the difference in family environment may influence how students experience English learning during their early years. And therefore, this study focuses on understanding the form of English exposure that students receive in their family environment and how these experiences influence their language learning. So, based on this background, the study was guided by two research questions. The first question is investigates what form of English exposure EFL student experience in their family environment during their early English learning. And the second question is explore how English exposure in the family environment influence their English learning experience. So through this question, the study aims to understand both the source of exposure and their impact on student language development. So to answer this question, the study established two research objectives. The first objective of the study was identify the form of English exposure experienced by EFL students in their family environment during their early English learning. And the second objective was to explore how that exposure influenced their early learning experience, including their motivation, challenges, and learning development. So these objectives were designed to provide a deeper understanding of the relationship between family-based English exposure and language learning experience. To support this study, several theories were used as the theoretical foundation. So the first is Carson input hypothesis, which states that language acquisition occurs when learners receive meaningful and comprehensible input. In this context, regular exposure to English language can help learners develop language skill naturally over time. And the second is Baron Werner ecological system theory. This theory explains that family is the one of the closest environment influencing children's development, including their language learning experience. And the third theory is absent theory of parental involvement, which is emphasize the importance of parental support in creating positive learning opportunities and improving educational outcomes. Next, we move on to the significance of the study. So this study provides several practical contributions. For parents, it highlights the importance of providing early English exposure at home to support children's language development. For educators, it offers insight into how family environment influence students' learning experience and encourage collaboration between the teachers and the parents. For students itself, the study raises awareness about how early English exposure can shape motivation and language learning experience. And finally, for the future research, the study can serve as a reference for further investigation related to family environment. Next, I will explain the methodology that used in this study. So this study employed a descriptive qualitative research design because the research is aimed to explore student experience in depth. The study was conducted in English Education Department of Universitas Sultan Ageng Tirtayasa, and 5 undergraduate students were selected using purposive sampling based on their experience of learning English in EFL context. The data were collected through semi-structured interview using open-ended questions and related to family environment, English exposure, motivation, learning difficulties, and learning strategies. The collected data then analyzed using thematic analysis to identify recurring themes across participants' experience. So from this analysis, 4 major themes were identified, which will be presented in findings section. So this the finding section, the analysis reveal four major themes. The first theme is home language environment. So these findings show that the most participants grew in a family that mainly use Indonesian or local language. As a result, English exposure was generally indirect and occurred to songs, cartoon, movie, games, and social media. The second theme is motivation and interest. Participants reported that early exposure to English helped them become more familiar with the language and increase their motivation to learn English. The third theme is learning challenges. That many participants experience difficulties in grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, listening comprehension, and speaking confidence because English was rarely used in daily family communication. And the fourth theme is independent learning strategies. Participants develop their English skill through the various resources such as YouTube, movie with subtitles, dictionaries, Google Translate, and etc. They also believe that early English exposure contribute positively to their future language development. So here the discussion section. So based on the finding, family-based English exposure was found to contribute positively to participant English learning experience. Although English was rarely used in everyday family communication, participants still receive exposure to media such as song, cartoon, movie, and etc. This exposure helped them become more familiar with English and increase their motivation to learn. These findings support Carson input hypothesis, which is emphasize the importance of comprehensible input in language acquisition, and also align with Barber's ecological system theory that highlight the significant role of family environment in shaping learning experience. So in conclusion, the study found that most participants experienced limited active English use at home. However, they receive indirect exposure through various forms of media. This exposure helped increase familiarity with English, strengthen motivation, and support positive learning with the family. Also create the challenges in increase in areas such as speaking confident grammar and pronunciation. So overall the findings suggest that family-based English exposure play an important role in supporting student English language development. So even when the exposure occurs indirectly through media and everyday learning opportunities. And that's all for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Irshad, for the presentations. Now I would like to invite Ivari to present his research. So for Ivari, time is yours.
Okay, thank you. I'll start. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Givari Dapin, and I'm going to present my thesis, which is the influence of digital storytelling on students' English writing development. Let's begin. Next slide, please. Okay, introduction. Challenges in EFL writing. There are four. First is limited vocabulary. EFL students often struggle with limited vocabulary, making it difficult to express ideas accurately and effectively in written English. Second is weak grammar. Grammatical errors are common among EFL learners, hindering clarity and coherence in written communication and academic writing tasks. The third, difficulty organizing ideas. Students find it challenging to structure and organize their thoughts logically because it's hard to do. And lastly, monotonous teaching methods, which is to say, teaching has become boring for some people, for some students, and they seem it very, very monotonous in their life. Next slide, please. One second. Okay, sorry. Continuing. Research question. First is, how does digital storytelling influence students' English writing development? And then what aspect of writing can be improved through digital storytelling? Then the objective of this research. Investigate the influence of digital storytelling on students' writing development. And the second, identify specific writing aspect improved through digital storytelling activities. Next, please. From this research question, we can figure out now what is digital storytelling is. Digital storytelling is sometimes combines narrative, digital media, and learner creativity to enhance communication and expression. This uses image, sound, text, and voice to develop creativity, communication, and critical thinking skills. Next slide, please. Here is the example of a digital storytelling. Shows the history of Indonesia through media that it has been edited and added text so as to inform the viewer of something. We can just skip it, please. Next slide. Okay, now engage writing development. These include four things. The first is content, which is obvious because involves generating and developing ideas clearly, so students can know what they are writing. Organization, I'm sorry. Structuring text logically with a clear introduction, body, and conclusion, with a clear structure of what they're gonna write, vocabulary and grammar, which is appropriate word choice and correct language structure are essential and very important to what they write in their digital writing or in the writing in general. And last is the mechanics, proper punctuation, spelling, formatting, mechanics like strip or commas, stuff like that are very, very important in writing development for English. Next slide, please. Now, these are the three reasons why this is important. The first is interactive writing and creativity. Why is digital storytelling important in writing development? The first is it guides on interactive writing process and promotes students' creativity and active participation in learning activities. The second is EFL writing and vocabulary enhancement. Because we introduce them to digital storytelling, this significantly enhance EFL writing skills and expands students' vocabulary through multiple multimedia engagement like Instagram or YouTube short or stuff like that. Now, organizing thoughts and clear expression. Digital storytelling can also help students organize their thoughts more clearly, more coherently, and express ideas more cleanly so their thoughts are in order so they can speak more or write more clearly. Next, please. Now, this is the research methodology. I choose a quantitative research design using a Google form questionnaire that they spoke approximately about 30 in university students, which have been selected using purposive samplings. I have selected which one I will find deemable for the test. Next, please. Now, these are the procedure, the usual stuff. I prepare the test, then I collect the data, then I analyze the data, and I report it to this paper, to this thesis. Next, please. Okay. These are the data of the findings. I will explain it later, so we can just move on. Next, please. Next again, please. Why? Next again, please. Thank you. From all that data that we collected, we found out 4 important findings. The first is significant positive influence. Digital storytelling has been proven has a significant and positive influence on student English writing development, as reflected by an overall positive perception mean of 3.81 from 5 from from 30 different students. Then the second point is enjoyable multimedia writing. Integrating multimedia elements such as video, images, animation makes the writing process more engaging, more interactive, so the students creates more stuff instead of just writing the usual boring way. Idea generation and organization. Digital storytelling effectively supports students in generating ideas, structuring their thoughts, and expressing them clearly and coherently in written form. And then lastly, it reduces writing challenges. Digital storytelling can help students overcome key writing difficulties, including limited vocabulary, weak grammar, and struggles with content development and also organization and structuring. Next, please. Then the implication, or I dare say conclusion. The first is an effective instructional strategy for EFL writing. Digital storytelling, as we have seen, is a proven and effective instructional strategy for EFL writing classroom. Teachers are encouraged to integrate it to their lessons to boost students' engagement, creativity, and so on and so forth. And then second is holistic writing development support. Digital storytelling supports holistic writing development across all the aspects like content, generalization, text organization, vocabulary. It supports all those things that what makes it writing development important. Next, please. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Or you may close the screen. Now let us continue to the sixth presenter, which shall be presented by Alia. So Alia, the screen is yours. All right, thank you, Givari, for the presentation. Now let us continue to the sixth presenter. They'll be delivered by Alia. So for Alia, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, Muzaki. Now I will present my presentation about exploring the relationship between listening strategy use and subtitle video-based listening learning. So basically, this is about how listening strategies and subtitle videos may work together to improve listening comprehension among EFL learners. Next. Next is the background. So, listening is often considered one of the most difficult skills in learning English as a foreign language because many learners struggle to understand spoken English by native speakers because they may talk too quickly, use unfamiliar vocabulary, or have different accents and pronunciation. To help learners overcome these difficulties, Many researchers have explored various methods, including listening strategies, and the use of subtitle videos. Both approaches have shown positive effects on listening comprehension, which makes them important topics in language learning research. Next slide. And next is the research gap. Although previous studies have shown that listening strategies can improve listening comprehension and subtitle videos can support understanding and motivation, these two topics are usually studied separately. Most research focuses either on the effectiveness of listening strategies or on the benefits of subtitles. As a result, there is still limited discussion about how listening strategies are used when learners engage with subtitle-assisted listening activities. And this gap is become the main motivation for conducting this study. Next slide. So, this has three objectives. First, it aims to explore the relationship between listening strategy use and subtitle video-based listening learning. Second, it examines the role of listening and metacognitive strategies in improving listening comprehension. Third, it investigates how subtitle-assisted learning and strategic listening behavior interact to support listening development in EFL contexts. Next slide. Next slide is listening strategies. So, listening strategies refer to the conscious actions learners use to understand and process spoken information. Instead of listening passively, learners actively apply different strategies to help them comprehend the message. For example, prediction allows learners to guess upcoming information based on context, while inferencing helps them understand unfamiliar words through clues. Monitoring enables learners to check whether they understand the message, and evaluation helps them reflect on their performance after listening. So, research has consistently shown that learners who use these strategies more frequently tend to achieve better listening outcomes. Next slide. Next is metacognitive strategies. Among the different types of listening strategies, metacognitive strategies are considered particularly important. These strategies help learners regulate and control their own listening process. They include planning before listening, monitoring comprehension during listening, and evaluating understanding after listening. Previous studies found that learners who use metacognitive strategies become more aware of their learning process, experience less anxiety, and perform better in listening tasks. Therefore, metacognitive awareness is often associated with successful listening development. Next slide. So, next slide is about subtitle videos. With the increasing use of digital platforms such as YouTube, Netflix, and online learning resources, subtitles have become a common feature in language learning. Subtitles provide learners with both spoken and written inputs simultaneously, making it easier to understand the content. They can help learners recognize unfamiliar vocabulary, confirm meaning, maintain comprehension, and stay motivated during listening activities. Next slide. Next slide is research methodology. So, rather than collecting data from participants directly, the researchers analyze findings from previous studies related to listening strategies, metacognitive awareness, listening comprehension, and subtitle-assisted learning. So, there's a total of 25 studies were reviewed. The purpose was to identify recurring themes and examine possible relationship between listening strategies use and subtitle-assisted learning. This approach allowed me to bring together findings from different studies and gain a broad understanding of the topic. Next slide. Okay, this is the last slide, which is conclusion. So, Based on the literature reviewed, listening strategies play an important role in listening development. Learners who actively use strategies such as prediction, monitoring, inferencing, and evaluation, like I said before, generally demonstrate stronger listening performance. The review also shows that subtitled videos can improve comprehension and increase learner motivation. However, subtitles alone do not guarantee listening improvement. Their effectiveness appears to depend on how learners use listening strategies while interacting with subtitle-assisted materials. Therefore, listening strategies and subtitle videos should be viewed as interconnected factors that contribute to successful listening development. So that's all from me. Thank you.
What an interesting presentation by Leah. Thank you. So now I would like to invite Christina, presenters. So Christina, you may begin the presentation.
Thank you, Mujaki. And good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to present my research. My name is Christina Damayanti. Today, I will present my research entitled Comparing Story-Based Digital Games and Traditional Teaching in Vocabulary Learning. This research discuss the comparison between story-based digital games and traditional teaching methods in improving students' English vocabulary mastery, especially in an English as a foreign language learning context. The next slide is the introduction and the research gap. Vocabulary mastery, vocabulary is one of the most important aspects of English learning because vocabulary helps students understand information, express their ideas, and communicate effectively. However, many English as foreign language learners still face difficulties in mastering vocabulary because the learning process often depends on memorization, translation, and teacher explanation. Although the digital learning tools have developed rapidly, many previous studies mainly focus on application, digital flashcards, or general game-based learning. There are still limited studies that specifically compare story-based digital games and traditional teaching methods in the same school context. Therefore, this study aims to investigate whether story-based digital games can improve vocabulary mastery more effectively than traditional teaching methods. Next slide is the theoretical framework. This research, supported by several theoretical perspectives related to vocabulary learning. The first theory is multimedia learning theory by Mayer, which explained that students learn better when information is presented through both verbal and visual forms. The second is dual coding theory, which explains that combining words and images can strengthen students' memory and help them remember new vocabulary. This research is also supported by Vygotsky's socio-cultural perspective, which emphasized the importance of interaction and meaningful learning experience. In addition, Nation and Krashen explained that vocabulary mastery requires repeated exposure and meaningful impact. These theories support the idea that story-based digital games can create a richer learning environment through context, interaction, and repetition. The next is research methodology. This study used quantitative approach with a quasi-experimental pre-test, post-test, control group design. The participants were 68 grade students from an Indonesian junior high school. The students were divided into two groups, which were the experimental group and the control group. Each group consisted of 30 students. The research was conducted for 6 weeks and each learning session lasts 45 minutes. The instrument used in this study was a vocabulary test consisting of 30 items, and the reliability results showed an acceptable level with a reliability coefficient of 0.86. Next slide is intervention details. During the intervention, both groups learned the same vocabulary materials, including daily activities, school objects, hobbies, and descriptive language. The difference was in the teaching approach used in each group. The experimental group learned through a story-based digital game package that include narrative mission, picture clues, word matching activities, and immediate feedback. Through this method, students learn vocabulary in meaningful situations instead of only memorizing individual words. Meanwhile, the control group received traditional vocabulary instruction through textbooks explanation, translation activities, repetition drills, and worksheet exercise. This comparison allowed the researchers to identify which method was more effective for vocabulary learning. Next slide is the pretest and post-test result. Based on the pretest results, both groups started with almost the same level of vocabulary mastery. The experimental group achieved a mean score of 41.83, while the control group achieved a mean score of 42.17. After the 6-week treatment, both groups showed improvement. However, the experimental group showed a higher improvement with a post-test mean score of 78.40, while the control group achieved 69.07. This result indicates that students who learn through story-based digital games experience greater vocabulary improvement compared to students who learn through traditional teaching methods. Next slide is the discussion. The findings shows that digital games can improve vocabulary mastery because they provide meaningful context, interactive activities, and immediate feedback. The story elements help students understand vocabulary through situation, characters, and events, making the learning process more interesting and easier to remember. The interactive tasks also encourage students to actively use the vocabulary instead of only receiving information from the teacher. Although traditional teaching methods were also effective in improving vocabulary, they provide less interaction and contextual repetition compared to the digital game approach. Therefore, the effectiveness of technology depends on how well it is designed and connected to learning objectives. Next is limitation and future research. This study also has several limitations that needs to be considered. First, the research used a quasi-experimental design, meaning that the students were not randomly assigned into groups. Second, the study was conducted in only one school with limitation duration of 6 weeks. This limitation may affect the generalization of the findings. For future research, it is suggested to involve a larger number of participation different educational level and longer treatment period to provide stronger evidence about the effectiveness of story digital games. In conclusion, this study found that story-based digital games were more effective than traditional teaching methods in improving teaching vocabulary mastery among 8th grade students. Both groups showed improvement, but the experimental group achieved higher vocabulary gains. This improvement happens because story digital games provide meaningful context, interactive tasks, and immediate feedback that help students remember vocabulary better. Therefore, story-based digital games can be considered as effective, engaging, and practical approach for vocabulary instruction in English as a EFL. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for the attention and listen to my presentation. I really appreciate your time. Saya kembalikan ke moderator.
All right, thank you, Christina, for your presentation. You may print, and now we're moving on to the 8 presenters. They'll be delivered by Keisha. So, Keisha, take your time, and now the stage is yours.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Keisha Naila Putri, and today I will present my article entitled Benefit and Challenge of Google Translate in English Learning, the Student Perception. Next slide. Okay. Technology has significantly changed the way students learn English. Today, students can access various digital tools that help them learn more efficiently, and one of the most popular tools is Google Translate. Many English education students use Google Translate because it is free, easy to access, and provides instant translations. It helps them understand unfamiliar vocabulary, read academic materials, and support their writing activities. However, the effectiveness of Google Translate is still debated. Some people believe that it helps students learn faster and more effectively, while others argue that students may become too dependent on it and neglect their own language development. Because of these different viewpoints, it is important to investigate students' perception of Google Translate in English learning. Next slide. Okay, next slide is research gap. Many previous studies have examined Google Translate from different perspectives. Some studies focus on its benefits, such as improving vocabulary knowledge and helping students understand text. Other studies focus on its weaknesses, including grammatical mistakes and inaccurate translation. However, only a limited number of studies have examined both of the benefit and challenges together from the perspective of English education students. Therefore, this study attempts to fill that gap by exploring how students experiences both the positive and negative aspect of Google Translate in their daily learning activities. Next slide, please. The next slide is research objective. This study has 4 main objects. First is to investigate students' perception of Google Translate. Second is to identify the benefit of using Google Translate in English learning. Third is to identify the challenge that students experience while using the tool. And finally, it's to understand the overall role of Google Translate in supporting students' English learning process. Next slide. The next slide is literature review. The literature review discusses several important concepts related to this study. First is perception is important because it influences student attitudes, motivation, and learning behavior. Students who have positive perception of a learning tool are usually more willing to use it effectively. Second is Google Translate is a machine translation tool that helps users translate words, phrase, and sentence quickly. Because of its conveniences, it has become popular among language learners. And previous studies show that Google Translate can support vocabulary learning, reading comprehension, and writing activities. However, researchers also found several limitations such as grammatical error and linear dependence on Google Translate. This finding provide the foundation for this study. Next slide, please. Okay, next is research methodology. This study used a qualitative descriptive design because it aimed to explore students' opinions and experiences in deep. The participants were 26 semester students from the English Education Department. They were selected through purposive sampling because they regularly use Google Translate in their academic activities, and the data were collected through an open-ended questionnaire distributed using Google Forms, and this allowed participants to freely express their thoughts and experiences. And the data were then analyzed through three stages: is data reduction, data display, and conclusion drawing. Next slide, please. Okay, next is finding. The finding revealed that students generally have positive perception of Google Translate. Many participants said that Google Translate helped them understand unfamiliar vocabulary and academic terms more easily. This is especially useful when reading journals and other academic texts. Students also reported that Google Translate more improved learning efficiency because it saves time. Instead of searching for meanings manually, they can quickly understand the context of a text. Another benefit of Google Translate is writing support. Students often use Google Translate to translate ideas from some language like Indonesian into English and to find suitable vocabulary when writing assignment. And however, several challenges were also identified. The most common challenge was grammatical inaccuracy. Students explained that some translate sentences sounded unnatural and need revision. Another issue was contextual translation errors. Sometimes the translation was correct word by word, but it did not accurately reflect the intended meaning. In addition, some students admit that they relied heavily on Google Translate, which may reduce their confidence in using English independently. Next slide. Okay, next is discussion. The findings suggest that Google Translate can be a valuable learning tool when used appropriately. It helps students overcome language barrier and access English material more easily. This is particularly useful for university students who frequently read academic journals and complete writing assignments. However, the findings also show that Google Translate should not be used without critical thinking. Students need to check and revise translation output because they are not always accurate. And more excessive dependence on Google Translate may limit students' opportunities to develop their own language skills. So students should use Google Translate as a super tool rather than a replacement for learning English. Next slide. Okay, next, the last is conclusion. In conclusion, this study found that students generally perceive Google Translate as a helpful tool for English learning. It supports vocabulary development, reading comprehension, writing activities, and learning efficiency. However, challenges such as grammatical inaccurate, contextual translation errors, and learner dependence still exist. So Google Translate should be used critically and responsibly. Students should balance the use of technology with independent language practice to continue improving their English skills. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Kesha. Now let us continue to our presenter, which is Faisal. So Faisal, when you're ready, you may.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. So my name is Faisal Fatima, and today I'm going to presenting my research, which is AI tools for EFL speaking mastery. It's a qualitative study on student perception. As we look at the rapidly technology is evolving, the study explore how English as a foreign language or EFL students are leveraging artificial intelligence to overcome traditional barriers in speaking mystery. So let's dive in. So to understand why this research is necessary, we must first look at the major issues in Indonesian EFL classroom. So what I call the silent English syndrome. So traditionally, students face two massive roadblocks. First is practice difficulties. So in large classroom, individual students often get less or 2 minutes of actual speaking time per week. And then second is severe anxiety. There is a high psychological fear of making mistakes or losing face in front of peers, which leads to total passive silence. This is where artificial intelligence steps in as a game changer. So AI tools offer an autonomous 24/7 and completely non-judgmental environment where students can practice without fear and embarrassment. Based on this challenge, my study contours around three core research questions, which is first, perceived usefulness. It is how do 6 semester students view AI in inciting pronunciation and fluency, and then the ease of use, which is what are the navigational dynamics and technical friction encountered, and the third one is social technical. The question is what are the benefits and the challenge or the paywalls faced. Next is to analyze this perception academically. This study utilize the technology acceptance model or TAM, originally developed by Davis in 1989. So according to TAM, the user adoption of technology is primarily driven by two core beliefs. First is perceived usefulness or PU. The subjective conviction that using AI will genuinely elevate their functional language performance. And the second is perceived ease of use or PEOU, which is the user assessment of the effort required to smoothly separate the tools. And together, the two beliefs shape the students' behavioral intention to integrate AI into their daily language learning routine. It's about the study was conducted. So I input a qualitative the qualitative descriptive approach to gather rich and deep insight into student experience. The data was collected through in-depth semi-instructed interview with 6 to 8 semester EFL students selected through purposive sampling here at University Sultan Tirtayasa. Our conversation specifically focused on three popular AI platforms such as Elsa Speak, Duolingo, and ChatGPT. Finally, the data was analyzed using the highly trusted Miles, Haberman, and Saldana thematic framework to extract clear and reliable themes. Next is move to the findings. Start with linguistic microskills and fluency. So the data revealed that different AI tools serve very unique function. For instance, Elsa Speak provide isolated phonemic correction, and then in the other hand, ChatGPT acts as a conversational partner, accelerating spontaneous lexical retrieval and training cognitive automatically. Next is, but it wasn't all seamless. The study highlighted a significantly technical and economical fraction. So first, we found accent barriers. So the current automatic speech recognition or ESR technology often fails to process local Sundanese or Japanese phonological traits. So the results in false negatives where a student actually speak correctly, but the A marks it as incorrect because the regional accent. Second is there is economic exclusion because premium software paywalls create a clear digital divide, locking the most potent and advanced instructional modules away from low-income students who needs them the most. So one of the most proven takeaway from the interview is captured perfectly by the quote from participant E, 6th semester students. They say, "Yeah, I can never replace my lecturers. It can fix phonemes, but it cannot inspire me or teach me to emotional nuance or human connection." So this is showing us that learners view AI strictly as mechanical supplements, which is a linguistic gym to practice repetition rather than a total replacement for human interaction and real pedagogical mentorship. For the conclusion is to conclude, while there are accent and final barrier, students have a very high intention to use AI because of the safe practice space it provides. Maybe that's it from me. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Back to the moderator.
Thank you, Faiza. And thank you to all presenters for sharing your research today. This concludes our presentation session. Thank you everyone for your attention and participation. Have a great day and